Thank you so much, Carolina. And yes, we all know how important it is to connect the past, build on the past, and based on experience from the past, also create the future. 6G going for gold. When you hear this, why do you think I use the term gold in the connection of 6G, and 6G in the connection of the term gold? Just think about this for a second. 6G, gold, gold, 6G. So what comes to your mind when you hear this gold? Money, exactly, money, good. Anything else that comes to your mind? By the way, money, typically the three answers are money, 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 and then the rest.
Gold means winner.
Winner, great. Anything else?
I hear old.
You hear old.
Yeah, it's already old.
Yeah, old is also good. You know, old is inbuilt. What I said at the beginning, you build on the experiences from the past and create something new. So from my interpretation, and this is all reflected in money, winner, also in this gold, building on the old and making something new, for me it is much value. It is also a desire, so to get money, and so it's a desire to get this. But also when you think of gold, it is the only universal global currency that we have across all boundaries, across all borders, across all cultures. So my name is Horst Angerer from Nokia Bell Labs. Nokia Bell Labs, by the way, being the research branch of Nokia, and I have the honor of being able to be involved in the 6G activities of Nokia since last year. By the way, any one of you being involved in some 6G activities already? No? Anyone following at least what is happening in 6G already? No. I would expect that this will change over time. Maybe it will change after this conference, even when you get a bit of the insight. By the way, today I will explain to you why 6G and gold go so nicely together and why 6G will open a golden era. On the other side, I also thought, as you will be part of the journey at a certain moment in time, obviously I recognized, not yet today, but there will be a moment in time, you will be part of the journey, you will contribute to 6G, and you will also contribute to creating this golden era. I thought about providing you an end-to-end view on the 6G, where we started, where we stay today, what are the ingredients, how we get there, and naturally also maybe some appetizers on how you can get involved. So what I prepared for you is talking a bit about trends from the markets, what the beliefs are, talking about use cases. So when you think of value, it's use cases naturally to a certain extent or to a strong extent. Also talking about timing. So you are not involved yet, but you will recognize that 6G is basically around the corner, and around the corner is pretty close. I will talk about some success factors. I will talk about how Nokia brings specifics to the 6G and how we address and approach the 6G. I will talk about the importance of ecosystems. So even if you're not part of our Nokia here, you're part of an ecosystem that will contribute. I will talk about how to make the 6G real and how also we as Nokia approach this. I will give you some hints and links how you can stay informed, so in case you want to start following up after the conference, there will be some references. And for the ones who did not take any notes, you know what to keep in mind. I have at least some recommendations of takeaways for you. So now looking into some of the trends and drivers when looking towards the 2030s. So let's think about 5 to 10 years ahead. By the way, I need new glasses or I need some new camera here, either or. Maybe it's a combination of both, but I will explain to you what is here. So I selected some of the charts that show future beliefs. Future beliefs that all trend towards 6G to the 2030s. And I will explain to you how I interpret these beliefs and what I believe is more true, what I believe is maybe not too much true. So as it is hard to read, I will try to explain to you what is up there. When you look on the upper right-hand chart, where you see the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, it shows some trends of the changes of the generations, the 4G, the 5G, the 6G upcoming. So there's nothing fancy in the chart. Interesting is what is in the headline of the 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the beliefs. So there's one belief, and this started in the 5G already, and was said, well, it is basically true in the 6G as well, that the operator market, these big, massive networks that we have, a couple of hundreds on the planet, the market remains pretty stable. This is one of the beliefs. I'm not saying this is the Nokia belief, nor do I say it's my belief. I will come to this later on. It's a belief that is there. Secondly, there's the belief that trust, security, privacy play a crucial role also for the future network. A third belief is that enterprise demands will much drive the future communication networks. And last but not least, that there will be a constant shift towards more open RAN-based and virtualized RAN networks. As I said, these are beliefs that I collected for you. On the other side, this chart here, going more to the left, so in the middle, that shows the big bars. It shows some belief of how the market of communication networks from today could develop towards the 2030s. When you look at the market today, you could roughly say, well, about 97% of the revenue and the investment that is done on communication networks goes to the big, massive operator networks. Around 3% goes to dedicated wireless networks, which are campus networks, 4G, 5G, private networks. This is roughly the share. When you look towards the 2030, I found this interesting chart that said, well, some people believe that these dedicated, enterprise-based, campus-based networks could make 30% of the market in the 2030s. Secondly, there's the belief, and you see the gray on the button that says, and these virtualized networks could take a significant share. When you take this, it could be maybe 20%, something like this. So a significant shift, or maybe not a shift, but an expansion of the potential market. When you take the chart with the orange color, this is the growth of data traffic. There is the belief, and it's not just a belief, it's a fact, the data amount via the networks is increasingly, and it will continue to increase. The bar chart, also an interesting one, that shows how the deployment scenarios for our communication networks shift over time from the low-dense urban networks to higher density networks, which also naturally links back to the products that are needed in the market. So left, a significant share of low density, wide area, on the right-hand side, high density network. And last but not least, this list I found at another place. It was about future global drivers and trends, where the belief is that 6G need to be strong in there and provide the support. One is sustainability. You could put there / energy efficiency. The other one, and you will hear this term very often today, is security. And the increase of security demands deglobalization or the changes in this global power structure. And last but not least, value for society. As I said, these are beliefs I collected from various sources for you. So now I will share my view of what of this could become true. What is maybe a bit too optimistic, what is a bit too pessimistic. By the way, don't quote this as the official message of Nokia. This is my personal belief, and each of you will have a belief and contribute to it. First of all, when you look at the market dynamics, operator market, flattish. This sounds boring, right? So, okay, we are in a flattish market, we can only defend, etc. I believe there is a growth potential in the operator market, also going forward, coming by new use cases, new applications, new services on top, and there is the chance for additional revenue streams for the operators and naturally for all the vendors. Secondly, the drive for higher security, trust demands, etc., definitely absolutely true. So there's no doubt about this. Enterprise networks driving the demands for the future communication networks. I believe very much that this is true. The more advanced use cases will emerge from the enterprise in these private dedicated domains, which will go beyond the capabilities that will be needed in the operator networks. And last but not least, the shift to virtualized Open RAN, definitely this will happen. When you look on the lower bar chart on this data traffic increase, certainly it will increase even more dramatic than is shown here. Densification, the lower with the bar, definitely will happen. The densification is effective when you take the dedicated networks, well, they are highly dense networks in very small environment. When you look at the percentage share here, the current market versus the future market, I definitely believe there is a massive on top potential coming from the enterprise and the dedicated network based on our communication network 6G. As said, I believe the broad operator market will remain the same plus grow, but this enterprise dedicated wireless network market will increase. And last but not least, my belief, when you look at the big drivers on the global scale, I would put value for society on the number one, and this is also our understanding of Nokia. 6G will deliver significant value to the society, and this is where 6G will have a strong contribution to the society, not just to the society, but naturally all in the ecosystem. As number two, I would put sustainability, or I would emphasize more on the energy efficiency. 6G will be designed to be highly energy efficient, more than any network that we see today. And as number three, I would put definitely security. So it's a must-have, it's set. This globalization topic, I would say, yeah, it is there. It won't go away, and there will be changes at the end. You know, the communication network today is the world's biggest machine. It has been decades back. It will be decades in the future. And it will be a standardized, global standards following machine being determined for the future. And these global changes, etc., might have some very influences in the various markets, but at the end, it will not influence the whole system that we're going to build. When having said this, when having understood, okay, these are the trends, these are the demands for the future going forward. So what are the use cases that 6G might be able to offer? I put still the disclaimer might be able to offer, because the system does not exist, but this is our belief, what we as Nokia also will deliver in the market. The chart on the left-hand side, anyhow, you cannot read it due to the monitor here, but it looks a bit difficult, but in fact it is very simple. You know, I put this 6G going for gold there. Look at the golden stars. So there's some of the blue stars that show use case areas that are existing today in the 4G or in the 5G networks, like the universal internet. You have data, you have naturally voice there. In the mobile broadband, you have the expanded broadband services. And when you go on the lower part in the green one relates to all this industrial application, industrial automation that we are introducing to the networks today. The interesting one, you know, we want to grow with 6G is not just getting the same with the new label, but bringing additional value and additional services are the golden stars. And they put a bit of text on the other side to explain what I mean with the additional services that will be provided. When you take just the basic services, this universal internet, mobile broadband for everybody, well, everybody is not so much true today. There are a lot of white spots on our planet where people can either not afford or don't have any coverage. When you look into the area of the 6G, which is the era of the 2030s, we will, for example, have the full integration of terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks to a full global coverage network. And when you even think a bit beyond, you might have seen some of the announcements by Nokia. We are currently, together with NASA, building a network on the moon that will be installed whenever mankind is on the moon. You can even do a call from the Earth to the moon, so you even have coverage beyond the Earth. So as said, even in the universal environment, you will get the full global coverage, and this will be first time in the era of 6G. Secondly, this green bubble that we call the dependable real-time, which means, you know, uplink, downlink with high data traffic, plus extremely low latency, plus extremely high reliability. You will find a significant set of new use cases where I see the growth potentials. When you look into the consumer environment, we all are consumers at the end, even if we are professionals in some other area. So there will be new services, new use cases that you can flag all in the XR, metaverse, business, or consumer metaverse, etc. environment. Secondly, and where I personally believe even the bigger growth opportunity is, when you look towards the enterprises or towards the industries, you will get a significant set of additional use cases being provided there, like the real-time digital twin. And when you look at the lower part, you see some of the bubbles that do not even have a blue star. These are, for me, the future big bets, where 6G goes far beyond what a 5G or 5G advanced system is able or will be able to deliver. This will be, for example, the network sensing capability, a communication network that can sense and identify objects and actually import it in a digital twin and process it, etc., etc. So the network will be able to do radar-like use cases. And secondly, also a big bet where I believe much in, You know, these private or campus networks that I mentioned before that are the smaller scale of the big networks, well, there will be a capability upcoming that is called subnetworks. Subnetworks could be you build a small 6G network in the car. Just replace all the cables in there that are used in the car to communicate. And by the way, besides the battery, the single most heavy element of the car of today are the cables. The automotive industry is looking into solutions, you know, to reduce the weight of the car. One way would be, well, build a communication network, a sub-network within the car. The car is like a smallest scale 6G network. You could also build the very same within a massive production engine within the robot. You could also build such sub-network on the human where you have an access point, where you have your connected watch, where you have some sensors connected to this. It could be for work safety, etc. So sub-networks and these radar-like sensing capabilities is going far beyond what we can build today. And taking all this up, you see there's a significant potential of providing additional value based on the 6G in future. Naturally, we still need to build it up, but we are on the path of building it. I mentioned the 5G Advanced. I just provide you a bit of an overview of how some of the future services built on what 5G or the upcoming 5G Advanced standards will provide towards the 6G, and where 6G will truly go beyond 6G. You can see here these holographic transmissions. Certainly not possible in the 5G or 5G Advanced yet, but fully possible from our extent in the 6G. So this would be the metaverse to the maximum extent that you can think of. And also for the interaction of humans with the digital world. The second part, I mentioned this broadband or broad usage of digital twins. It can be a factory, it can be a city. I will come to this a bit later when I talk about the fusion of the worlds that we will see. It's a capability the networks are not able to provide today, but there's some first step that can be done with 5G. And last but not least, this network as the sensor, even on the other side of the bar, on the right, you could also remove what is there, because basically there's nothing comparable in the earlier generations of 5G. The sensing capabilities will be new, it will blow people away, and it does blow people away already. So what you can see here, certainly the 6G will have some evolutionary aspects, so we build on capabilities that are there, but definitely they will be revolutionary in terms of the services that will come. With having said this, naturally all this needs to be built. The question is, what is the timeline for building it? And this is here a chart that looks a bit busy, but I explain the main elements. In the morning with André, we talked about marathon, you know, and you need to prepare for this, you need to have endurance. Well, also in our market, you need to prepare for it properly, you need to have endurance, and you need to follow a strict plan. The strict plan means we expect that the 6G networks, the first ones, will be launched end of 29. When you count a bit backwards, you recognize them. If you want to launch it end of 29, and you have the cycles for standardization, and naturally you do after the standardization a bit of product development still, and you do the requirement phase before, you recognize, oh, you need to start pretty early. And in fact, we do not need to start pretty early, but we have started already 2 years back roughly, or even a bit earlier. So today you can imagine that the major vendors have hundreds of people already today working very concretely on the 6G. And as we speak today, we are entering the phase of the first activities in the standardization. So the machine kicks fully off, and keep in mind, end 29, begin 30s, we expect the first networks to launch, and we expect the first full standardization, 3GPP standard specification to be available in the later 2028, which would give roughly about 1 year, maybe less than 1 year, to bring the first products to the market. You might imagine this is a bit ambitious. When having said this, you can also see in the upper part, there are some bars that look like, oh, they're almost completed. Well, part of the definition of the 6G has been that several vendors and operators and partners from the ecosystem have been working in consortia already, in Lighthouse project, in looking into the requirements, looking into the use cases, deriving the architectures, doing the first proof of concepts, etc. And some of the prominent projects are listed there, like HexaX, which is led by Nokia, and where we have done the work already over the past 2 years. So it's a marathon. We have a long distance to go still, but we are well prepared, and we have done, I would say, maybe the first quarter of the path. Still, the success will be determined naturally on the rest, and you need that endurance. And I see that the endurance is there also in the industry. So timing is naturally one success factor. So if you want to hit the market window of the 6G, you need to be there in time, but there are some other success factors. I explained the ones in the gray box. The others, when you get the material later on, you can read it, provide you a bit more context. So I mentioned already the timeline and the specification. By the way, the first specification in the late 28, it will be the 3GPP release 21. So in case one wants to memorize this. What will also be important, naturally the tactics, so what will be the use cases and the product capabilities for the day one? On the one side, you have the standards, the other side, it will be also a bit the tactics, what you put as functionality into your first products. We heard it a bit with the test management or with Gregor before, you need some prioritization. Also there, it will be some prioritization, and this will be part of the success factor of 6G, bringing the right capabilities into the products that launch in the late 29, early 30s. What is crucial, and we heard this in the presentation of Andre, so in case somebody was in the presentation of Andre in the early morning, he talked about simplification. We also we make a system which is quite complex, even expand it further. We said one of the success factors will be simplification, and one element of the simplification will be that we give up with the variances of the different configurations that we had in the 5G, where you had the non-standalone in various dimensions, which were defined, at the end deployed, etc. It was a hell of work, and it was a hell of useless work as well. So the current understanding would be just go for a standalone, full-blown 6G for the start, and that's it. And this is a simple architecture, and you still have a lot of flexibility inbuilt. And last but not least, and in fact, let's take the spectrum still. Spectrum is of some importance. Also, the belief is one of the success factors will be not just to utilize the spectrum that we have today, but also provide the market and the operators with some new spectrum. So there's the understanding that some mid-band spectrum will be relevant for additional use cases in the 6G. We are thinking of a band of 7 to 15 gigahertz. This will be a golden band, so it's my terminology from my perspective. It will be relevant, and this would boost the deployment of 6G, and you can build additional layers on top of the existing networks. And last but not least, and in fact it should be put on top, is naturally the question of value, and to design the system such way that it provides the maximum of value that meets the trends that I showed on the first chart. By the way, besides the revenue streams with the new services and the new capabilities, also one big contribution to the value of 6G will be its operational efficiency. So what is the effort you need to spend to maintain, the network, on the other side, to bring new services to the networks, bring this all small-scale, dedicated wireless networks to the market, etc. This is about operational efficiency. Also, this is the performance of the network, but also the energy efficiency. So we have had some good dialogues where some of the operators even believe, even without the additional revenue streams that will come with the new services, even providing the system in a way that the energy consumption decreases so much more beyond what we have today in the 5G, it could already make a good portion of the 6G business case. So 6G and the success will be determined by these factors, and the most important one is natural value. So in case the value is not there, then the system will not be there. But I said we design the system for value. So these are the success factors. Naturally, one success factor is as well, you have a vendor to ship all this and provide all this and build all this and understand all this and drive all this. And Nokia being one of the vendors, having been crucial in driving, defining, articulating what 6G is, and also trying to lead the whole crowd in the ecosystem towards a specific direction, which would be the market launch with specific content, etc. You might have heard this term of 6G being the fusion of the digital, the physical, and the human world. When you hear this, keep in mind, this came from Nokia, so this was our vision, it's still our vision, this is what we create in 6G. When you go back to the 2G, it was, you know it from the old Nokia, connecting people, people talk to people. Okay, this is what we build over time. You know, there were more machines coming in, there was the industry coming in. The 6G will be the true fusion where the digital world will interact with the physical world, with the human world. We as the humans can influence the physical world via the digital twins, etc., etc. So this is what we're going to build. This is what the 6G will be. Nokia's vision. Secondly, when you take this vision and use cases and all of this together, naturally the capabilities of the network need to increase. So the pure KPI, you might know it from the 5G, you have the throughput, you have the latency, you have the reliability, you have the sensor density, etc., etc. This chart just shows, well, the 6G will be better in all these terms. Is this enough? No, it is not enough. This would just be, the same, but a bit better. What we came up very early is, well, besides the key performance indicators and linking back to the value and the gold, 6G provides significant value, and we articulate those in key value indicators. And we selected and defined 3 key value indicators. The one links back to energy efficiency or sustainability, the system being designed green by design, and the one who can read the small text here, you will recognize that our ambition is that, with 10 times the capacity of the network, we believe it should be able to operate it with 50% of today's energy consumption, which is massive. So clearly, energy efficiency being a strong value, and I link back to the value and the business case. This digital inclusion, it does not help when we have this global network, everybody can connect them. In case it is not affordable, what does it help? So this digital inclusion also includes that we have solutions, not just from the network side, but the network enabling also solutions for the terminals and for the chipset, that it can be affordable for each and every one on the planet to be part of the network, of the communication networks. And last but not least, naturally, the highest level of security and privacy that one can think of for the biggest machine that we have on the planet's communication network. 3 dedicated values and 3 dedicated value indicators for the 6G networks. And this is not just our belief, but this is what we're working towards. Let's talk a bit about technology. So somehow the system needs to be built. So what are the ingredients? When you look at the 6 pillars here, this is Nokia's understanding of what the toolbox, the technology toolbox of 6G will consist of. By the way, you don't need all of this. It's like a toolbox that you have at home. Sometimes you need a hammer, you need a screwdriver, you need a drill, etc. We see the 6G system with all the use cases, with all the value that we want to provide, needs 6 pillars, and these 6 pillars include everything. It's about spectrum technologies. Naturally, it's the enhancement of MIMO in there. It's AI, also in the air interface. By the way, AI is inbuilt in each and everything that we do. I come to this a bit later. The sensing capability is one dedicated pillar. Extreme connectivity, this would go to the use cases in the industrial environment that I mentioned before. This picture with the cloud here. It's about this very flexible architecture. I talked about the big operator networks and then the expansion in the dedicated wireless or private networks, and talked about sub-networks. You need a flexibility in the architecture while still having something that is standardized, and last but not least, security, trust, and privacy as one of the building blocks. These 6 pillars can serve it all, and we are working on all the 6 pillars. And by the way, we are not just working on and write a bit of papers, but I come to this later on. We also make it real, that you can touch it, that you can feel it, and you can experience it, and that we can validate that these pillars will serve it. There's a bit more, so you need the technologies, and then you need to have the right approach, to bring these technologies to the market and into your system. And I just highlight some of them. Still not able to read it properly anyhow. On top is this AI native. We heard it today with the testing that was said, okay, will testers become obsolete because we have AI? I mentioned it before. AI for the air interface will be an important pillar. Each and every of these technology pillars that I showed before will have ingredients of AI, ML as an important enabler for its capabilities. For example, for the automation, for the operational efficiency of the network. So we designed the network with AI inbuilt. Simplification is there, I mentioned this before, and the energy efficiency. Let me also highlight this flexibility, modularity. It will be important with the system that I explained so many different use cases and deployment scenarios that you build it in a scalable way, with this flexibility inbuilt, with the modularity, that you can scale it to all the dimensions that you need, but it's nothing that you need to customize, but it goes out of the standard technology building blocks. So important also to follow the right design principles, and these are the 10 design principles we are following and which we implement in our system. Is it sufficient that Nokia or another vendor that you might know is implementing all this so nicely and then we get all these services to the market? No. So even in 5G, we said already, well, 5G is an ecosystem play. Naturally, you always need the chipsets, you need the devices there, you need some application vendors. When you go forward towards the 6G, it becomes even more true. You know, when I talked about all the environments in the enterprise growth domain, or when you go to the subnetwork or the sensing, so the ecosystem becomes much broader. Capabilities of the network will be on the open interfaces, etc. And the more we think of the ecosystem, the more you recognize how important it is to work with the ecosystem already in the early phase. So we as Nokia are very active in the ecosystem. We are leading some of the major initiatives and are involved in the US, like this NextG Alliance or this HexaX, the European Lighthouse project for 6G and HexaX2. Nokia is leading this, but when you look to Asia, by the way, Asia being very active, very, very soon in the market here, we're also engaged in this. And this is important for the whole ecosystem, and by the way, for the whole industry. So while we provide the system and develop it and standardize it, it's important that the ecosystem is being built and it's being aligned, and this is going to happen as we speak. As a research, and this is the chart that shows this, and that's really important to connect always the research houses and utilize their capability as well in creating such a system. This is what is highlighted here, and we are connected, I would say, to almost each and everybody who has an important role on this planet for research. And we are, by the way, ourselves, the Bell Labs, a research house. So what do we do also different than maybe some other vendors? You might have seen there is so much to read about 6G. Yeah? So you can read and you like hell, you have tons of papers, etc. This is all good, this is all needed. A lot of studies are needed. For us, it is important to validate the approaches and the technology building blocks and the key value indicators very early in real equipment systems. And we have started doing so already last year, and as we speak, we go forward building these systems together with partners from the ecosystem, together with customers, validate some approaches, and naturally also show it to the world. What I'm showing here today is what we have officially announced. There's much more going on. So we have already implemented the distributed MIMO system with the AT&T quite early. This was already launched and provided at the conference, at the Mobile World Conference, by the way, which is some important conference for our business, beginning of last year. In the middle, you can see, it looks like industrial environment. Yes, this is industrial environment. You see this fancy, colorful chart. This is from the sensing aspect. So we are working closely with industry peers. You might think of, could be Bosch one. Yes, Bosch could be one. Working on these industrial environments, which is a big family of use cases, and sensing plays a role there, by the way. And last but not least, on the other side, where you have these two charts, we have started building proof of concept systems together with NTT and Docomo in Japan, the AI for the air interface. And by the way, we are also experimenting with spectrum bands, which are far beyond what we're using today, more going towards the sub-terahertz domain. So we want to make it, and we make it real. So when we talk about technologies from the Nokia side, we have experienced it, we have tested it, we have shown it to the world. It is not just paper-based. This is how we approach it. So this was a story end-to-end. Naturally, there's some gaps in between, so it's not everything. Otherwise, I will talk up to the 2029 or 2030. So this was the story I provided for you. And I also selected some of the links if you want to stay informed from now on. The lower ones, which are the web links, this is the theory. What is the 6G, the technologies? You could also get the update, and also the 6G explained in a bit broader context. When you take the upper three links, you can follow up our latest releases, our latest updates, our latest successes in X or Twitter and LinkedIn or Facebook. So this would be recommended to follow. Naturally, you could follow from the competition, but I would prefer that you follow our data and our announcements and become engaged here. As I said at the beginning, well, for the ones who did not take any notes of what to remember, you know, sometimes when you hear so much, it's not really sure, what should I remember and take back home? I have some recommendations for you, what you could take back home. So first of all, and this is not just true for Nokia, but in general, the success of 6G and the golden value, money, pride that it could bring for us will be determined by new services and naturally by operational efficiency. It's important when you work on this, keep it in mind. You don't design, it's not a technology game and you bring the brightest technology, you bring the maximum value. This is what Nokia and 6G will stand for. And this comes via the new services. Secondly, this also links back to the ecosystem. Keep in mind, it's an ecosystem play. It's important that we form alliances, that we work together, that we build the system together, and that we evolve the system on the way. So therefore, I was appreciating also the invite from the colleagues here to talk about 6G. Also, it is still a bit early for some in the journey. Keep in mind that you will link into this at a certain moment in time and also find the intervention point where you will link into this. So it's a united endeavor that we do on this planet. And the bullet number 3, I was thinking of, yeah, well, what might it mean for testing, I've not been in testing directly, but I thought about it and said, yeah, when you think of these flexible architectures, which means, you have a standard architecture, but can scale it. On the other side, the deployment scenarios, where you go in the dedicated networks, in this enterprise, you go in the operator networks, you do sensing, etc. You take 5 of the 6 pillars of the technology building blocks, only 2 or all of the 6. There's a lot of modularity and flexibility in. I think it requires a dedicated approach and a dedicated strategy also for testing. And when you think of the system, how they will be defined in future, especially on the software side, where CIAML is inbuilt almost in each and every area, it defines, or it requires even more from the ones that are in testing, the ones that do test strategy, and later on doing the test management, to think of how to tackle such a system, because it cannot be that the efforts for testing explode and we get slow time to market. No, not at all. The system needs to go to the market quickly. The updates need to go to the market quickly. So a dedicated approach is needed. So therefore, I would appreciate the people that are in testing start thinking about this already in the early stage. And last but not least, this would be the placeholder. So whatever you want to put there on top, put it there, and keep a bit in mind of, think of how you and when you can make the 6G real and how you can contribute. And this would maybe be a bit of homework you could take back. So when you take all these together, I think we would be good set for a next step, for going the journey further forward with the 6G, going to this golden area, earning a lot of money, having a lot of pride there, building on the foundation of the history. You saw that I also showed this 2G. It's not old, but however, the 2G could be said it's the old one. The 6G is the gold one then on top that we are building. So this is the way how we create this golden future together. And this would also be the system that we're going to build, a system that can sense, think, and act. This is what the 6G world will be. Thank you. So if you have questions, you can naturally ask them now, or you catch me afterwards or during the lunch break as well. Or you use the QR code at the very beginning, so not like Gregor, I have not put it at the end, I put it at the beginning, it goes to my LinkedIn. Any immediate questions? There's one in the middle. Are you very vocal or do you need a microphone? Yeah, I hardly hear you. I guess microphone is a good choice.
I hardly hear myself.
Yeah, well, we very seldom talk in cinemas. Huh? By the way, the Roman theaters, if you have been to a Roman theater, it's amazing how they manage the acoustics. You have 30,000 people that can sit in the Roman theater. If there's one person whispering down there, you can hear it up there so clearly and the other way around, so it's amazing. But please go ahead with the microphone.
Yeah, okay. So, very simple question,
Yeah.
and I don't want to quench the enthusiasm because, from an engineering perspective, it all seems very interesting, right? But how can you convince people to pay $5 a month more for this? They will not do this. I'm, as a consumer, is not I don't want to pay for it. I have everything I need in my phone now with 4G, even with LTE, right? 5 years ago, I called my mom from Seoul subway. It was 10,000 kilometers. It was a video call. It worked perfectly. Why would I want to pay for a new phone, pay more for my phone bills, just to be able to call to Mars? Or
Yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks for the analogy to Mars. By the way, we have not designed the network for Mars yet, but it will be relevant at a certain moment in time. You're young enough, you will experience it still, so you might call to Mars. But certainly the question is, which of the services that the network will provide specifically in the consumer domain. So in enterprise, it's a different game there, but in the consumer domain, how can this be monetized? My personal belief is that some of the services will be inbuilt, so which means they are expected and they cannot be monetized. It will be the clue of the operators as well, together with the vendors, to identify and provide services where the chance for payment is there. And think of, for example, the gaming environment. Who would have thought, and I personally would not have thought, that anyone pays any buck for gaming or for games or so. It's quite a massive business that emerged from zero. I'm not saying that we built the next gaming, but I believe there will be capabilities based on the service to monetize. I cannot say where it is yet. Is it in this holographic environment? What are the services that can be monetized? It is certainly a challenge. It will certainly be a challenge because we as the consumers would like to get everything for free. So the rate should go down and the capabilities should go up. So I cannot answer this yet. Important will be that we have the services that have the chance to be monetized. If and how they can be monetized, it will still be a part to work on. So half the answer, maybe it's a quarter of the answer only. So the other 3/4 of the answers will come over time. I know you are not satisfied, me neither, but what shall I do? Any other question that I might not answer? Or maybe answer?
Okay. I have a mic. Hello. So very good presentation, Horst. And here.
Here you
Okay.
are. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So.
Damn, it's so bright here.
But I think that there is one part missing in your presentation here for the 6G pillars, and what you were stating about the security aspect and the AI aspects and all that comes with new technologies. I think this missing part is that before delivering this to customers, we need to have there as a pillar simulation part. We need to have simulators that are there as a product to basically not test in the field, or it was intentionally. You think basically that testing should be done outside of the Nokia laboratories or any other vendor because it is a cost. Of course, the most important part is the transceiver station, that is delivering the radio access. However, the part that you have to build is a cost, kind of, simulator product. And don't you think that this is must-have for this 6G? Or you think that this would be 7G as a pillar?
So thanks for raising the simulator. This would go more to the enablers or infrastructure, how we can build the products here. So the 6 pillars are the technology building blocks. But I'm fully with you, by the way. So the belief is, and it's not just a belief, we are building them as we speak. You need an advanced simulation environment to validate the system in all its variances far before you go to any real equipment. Far before that, and you even have a more integrated approach on the link level, on the system level, even this energy efficiency. It cannot be that you figure it out when you have the first real equipment there. You need to have end-to-end simulated system. Yes, this is essentially the ones who will do it best will get the best products to the market as well. So, and we are building such environment. I'm not saying we are perfect yet there, but this is very high on our agenda, building the simulation environment and using it. It will be crucial, otherwise the system will not fly to the extent. So I'm fully with you. It is a crucial enabler. Any other question, or is your main question, when are we released for lunch? So if this is the question, I think Carolina is gone already, so then it's my honor to release you to lunch.
I'm here.
Oh, Carolina, you're still there.
I'm here with the mic.
Lucky.
Anyone wants to ask about something else, please do.
Ah, they are hungry. I can understand us. I'm hungry as well, by the way. Ah, there's one more question. Yeah, so sorry, now all need to stay because we have one more question. Or you have the honor to hang around with us, however you would like to see it. So if you want to spoil lunch for the others, just ask questions.
Hello. I wanted to ask if AI will be like built in the system, how you plan to train it?
Well, when talking about AI, and naturally the training is the most important one. By the way, we are currently experimenting in all the areas where we inbuilt AI, how to train it. Will it be online in the system, or will it be pre-trained models that will from time to time be refreshed on external platforms and then imported again? This is part of our research work and also some of the proof of concepts that we're doing. We don't have the full answer yet, but there might be different approaches for different models in different use case environments, which for the ones which are more dynamic, where it would make sense to do the training more during the operations and do the constant update, and some which have more static environment where it would be sufficient to pre-train and then from time to time to refresh. So there is no common answer and there is no final resolution. But I said we are trying this in the various areas, like the AI for the interface. It's more pre-trained, and then we believe you can refresh them from time to time on external platforms and import the new models. And in the orchestration automation, where you have more dynamics in there, we believe it might be more inbuilt in the running system and run on the platforms of all the communication networks. So it's maybe 25% of the answer once again, as in the other case of how we get money out of this and how we make people pay for it. So this is part of the research still.
Thank you.
Horst, regarding to this question, she asked, will it be AI used for the network management as well, or only for the end users, consumers? Because in my opinion, the AI capability can help also to detect any anomalies in the network, to quickly react what's going on.
Yeah, thanks for this, where AI will be used. So it will be used specifically on the interface because we can improve the energy efficiency, the operation spectrum efficiency, etc. It will be used in the network management to a strong demand or to a strong increase, and it will be and is being used in the security and anomaly detection as well. So I would say it is used almost everywhere, and even to the biggest extent more in the operation and automation domain. And as I said, we are experimenting, how to train it, how to inbuild it, etc. But I'm with you, yeah, this is part of the system. Naturally, this will also be an interesting question towards testers, test architects, how to test and validate such a system that has such an inbuilt AI ML capability, which is not always fully predictable then. Any further questions, or anyone else who wants to spoil others' lunch break? Carolina, would you like to end the session? Where's my Carolina?
Yes, I am here.
Ah,
I'm
it's
always
right here, really. It's amazing.